Yep, I made another clock. The Wood Night is sponsored by I Would Like. The burl slice I had was a bit like a cinnamon bun. It felt like the centre was just going to pop right out. Since I needed to drill out the centre, I decided to fill the gaps with epoxy first. I started on the back side so that if the epoxy sunk down and it didn't feel level, it didn't matter, and in fact could save me more epoxy. I've only used my torch a few times for popping bubbles, and I think I got a bit too close. No eyebrows were hurt. Because the back was pretty curved, to give me a better bearing surface to mount onto the wall, I used a slab flattening jig. You'll see more about this in a future project. When I was working on the plywood pen holders, the depth stop broke clean off my drill press. I've got plans to fix it using plywood, but I just haven't had the time. I went pretty shallow on the Forstner bit, cleaned it up with some chisels, then went back to the drill press to go a little bit further. I was pretty cautious without that depth stop. I've been trying out some router mat material to sand on. I'm not sure I'd use it for routing, but it actually works a treat for stopping objects from dancing around when sanding. To mount the clock on the wall, I wanted to attach a bracket with a keyhole slot cut into it for a bolt head. I'm not convinced this is the best way to do it though. Coolibah is gorgeous, but throwing a coat of Danish oil on it really makes it pop. This brand of Danish oil is closer to tung oil. As per the instructions, you wipe on a coat, then 30 to 60 minutes later, you wipe off any excess and let it dry for about 24 hours. If you don't, it can gum up a little bit. Pretty much all quartz clock movements work about the same. Clock part goes in through the back, you secure it with a washer and the included brass hex nut. Then you slide the hour hand down. Then there is a step where the minute hand slides in onto. Then the seconds hand is pressed into the very end, or you can get a little dome cap to screw on if you don't want a seconds hand. I still really have no idea what I'm doing with the numeral placement. Alright, so I wanted to talk a little bit about the bolts that I used, the wall anchors. It's very difficult while actually hanging it to show you. So I've got a piece of MDF which is going to be our mock plasterboard. This particular kit I got given, it's an Aldi kit, so at the supermarket. A hollow wall anchor and tool set. It's available from a lot of hardware stores, that sort of thing. It's nothing exclusive to Aldi. There's two parts of it. There's the tool that sort of crimps it and the actual wall anchor itself. It's very similar to the plastic wall anchors, except it's metal, and the way in which it crimps is very secure. So these particular ones use either M4 or M5 bolts, depending on the width and the weight and all of that. So I imagine there would be imperial equivalents. If this was the wall where I was hanging the clock, you get your drill bit. In this case, I need it big enough for the body to get through. In plaster, you can go a little bit smaller. In MDF, it's about the right size. Drill our hole. We need to put the anchor in, so I like to screw the bolt all the way down. So it's basically a glorified T-nut at this stage. Then we take a screwdriver. They have a slot and a little Phillips head, so either will work. I tend to like to use hand screwdrivers for this if I'm dealing with plaster. Then the tool itself has two sections. As you ratchet it down, one part moves back, and that's what ends up crimping the metal part, the bit in the wall. So we just slip this over the head of the bolt, so sometimes you'll need to extend that, so back it out I should say. Then it's just a matter of squeezing. Once it won't go any further, press the release and you're done. Then this is very secure. For the clocks, they weigh a little bit, being a burl filled with epoxy. They're not the lightest thing, they're very dense. I don't really want that tearing down the wall if it was in a plastic wall anchor, whereas these are rated for, it doesn't say, but I think it's something like 25 kilos for this size. When I'm ready to hang it, the keyhole slot will slot over this. So these aren't horribly expensive, but they're surprisingly useful for hanging stuff. This isn't so much an outright recommendation, just they're kind of neat, so I thought I would show that in a bit more detail. Thanks for watching.